What's the point of kicking me off Twitter if the verified checkmarks are just going to go and follow my Telegram channel anyway? Which, incidentally, you should follow. I'll leave a link in the description in the comments. Alistair Clark, who describes himself as a journalist for culture, politics and the media, and is followed by Owen Jones and Jess Phillips, says far-right commenters on Carl Benjamin's Telegram channel cheering on the BBC's refusal to use Owen Jones's actual job title despite using journalist for Guido Fawkes writers. Well, I'm happy to agree that the Guido Fawkes writers may not well be journalists, but Owen Jones certainly is not a journalist either. Even The Guardian do not describe him as a journalist. Owen Jones is a Guardian columnist. Yes, he's not a journalist. Why? Because he writes opinion pieces. Opinion. Gay gene theories belong in the past. Now we know sexuality is far more fluid. But doesn't that undermine the primary argument for homosexuality that was argued in the 90s and in the early 2000s? As in, it's not a choice, therefore it's something inherent in us, therefore you have to allow us to be what we are? I mean, why can't they say, well, you can just choose not to be gay now then? If it's a choice, why can you not choose the opposite? But anyway, I'm not getting into this. I don't give a fuck. Owen Jones writes opinion pieces. Opinions on being gay. Opinions on Boris Johnson and the blood of our ancestors. Fucking Zig Heil, Owen. Jesus Christ, are we really invoking our English blood against Boris Johnson? Opinion pieces on really important subjects that I can't believe he makes money doing this. So when the BBC refused to call him a journalist, I don't blame them. What journalism does he actually do? What stories does he break? Where does he go and interview the public or investigate certain occurrences and then write reports on? He doesn't. He just gives opinion pieces using other people's reporting. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not angry at him for doing that. I'm not a journalist either. I do exactly the same. I, like Owen Jones, do punditry. We both do this. It's exactly the same what we do. So him trying to claim the title of journalist is remarkable, especially given how sullied the title has become in recent years. But anyway, this is the far-right commenter. Fidu, I think that is, aka Simon. A bit of a copy of my dissenter comment, but are even the BBC a little fed up with Owen? The description of him from the article is the most accurate I've seen the BBC describe him. Mr. Jones, 35, is a prominent left-wing activist and political commentator. Well, you could say the same for me, a prominent centrist activist and political commentator. There's absolutely nothing different between me and Owen Jones in this. Neither of us are journalists. Not described as a journalist, but as an activist and a left-wing activist at that. That's accurate. That's bloody accurate. You know he's a shithead even when the BBC describe a Guardian columnist as a left-wing activist. We all know he's far left, but for a BBC article, that's strong stuff. In their defence, they did actually call him a journalist and activist in the first line of the article, but obviously in a later description in the article they decided to describe him as an activist, which is far more accurate than calling him a journalist. But Senpai noticed me. Owen Jones, if mainstream media outlets and self-described centrists want to keep delegitimizing the few left-wing voices with a significant media platform, then I hope at least they understand and appreciate who they are emboldening and legitimizing. Centrists. We're emboldening and legitimizing centrists, you fucking communist. What I love about this is it shows that he at least knows about me and watches my stuff. He knows that I describe myself as a centrist. And even then, I don't really like that term. I'm a liberal. Like, wherever you want to put that on the political spectrum is irrelevant to me. I am a liberal, and you know it, you socialist. But I love the fact that now they're reduced to following my Telegram and not even criticising what I'm saying on it, because what I'm saying on it isn't really anything unusual. I think it's accurate information and interesting things and funny comments that I'm making on Telegram. They don't go after me, they go after people who have posted comments on my Telegram. But the best thing about Telegram is that they have no power to get me removed from it. They can do nothing about it except follow it and gnash their teeth. So I replied with this. Dear Owen Jones, you, a radical leftist and Marxist agitator, are the one emboldening fascists by abandoning the core values of liberal democracy. Also, you're a cunt. Yours truly, Carl Benjamin. P.S. Hello, verified checkmarks. This is Brexit country. But the thing is, I went and had a look through the comments, and in reply to this, the person who was being called out by Alistair left a comment of their own. Fido posted this. Holy moly, I think I'm famous for 15 milliseconds. I believe I was the one who first commented that the BBC were not describing him as a journalist. So, Alistair Clark and Owen, I've never been addressed nor described as far-right before. I voted Remain in the EU referendum, and I would vote Remain again. I accept Leave won and it have to happen. Bravo! Totally respect that position. I've never said that people are bad people or stupid or anything for voting Remain. I've always said there are legitimate reasons to vote Remain. I just feel that the principled arguments supersede those reasons, because these reasons are normally pragmatic, going, well, what about the damage to the economy? What about this? What about that? It's like, well, we'll figure it out as we go. In principle, it's better for Britain to be outside of the European Union, and we had the referendum, and democracy must triumph. My wife of over 20 years is an EU citizen, so probably a racist, or a xenophobe or something, who says reluctantly that the UK must leave the EU for the sake of long-term democracy, and she's not happy about it, believe me, but she has more sense than you, Owen and Alistair. Any of my 4 daughters could beat the living shit out of you, Owen, and would if I asked them to do it in a dojo of your choice for charity. This is not relevant, it's just true and makes me smile. I voted Lib Dem for years, but not now. How am I far right? I grew up knowing people on the far right, National Front and BNP. I recognise the far right. I fear that you've been blinded by our ideology and are now useless. This self-owned by Owen Jones and Alistair Clark could not have been more perfect if it had been handcrafted by me personally. They absolutely blundered into this. Not only have they legitimised my Telegram channel as a method of hearing what I have to say, thank you very much by the way, also subscribe to my Telegram, apparently all the verified checkmarks are following it, it also just shows that these people are literally just ideological propagandists. Look at this far-right commenter. No. I would say centre-left commenter. Because I am a centrist, as Owen Jones describes me. Or, sorry, quote-unquote centrist. Self-described. But then let's be honest, Owen, you're a self-described, quote-unquote journalist. And a quote-unquote journalist who really covers the hard-hitting topics, as we saw, how can a man be too straight to recycle? No one should have to pay to pee. It's time for a toilet fight back. And Owen Jones goes to Glastonbury. The queer corner is for getting off with people. Really important things that Owen Jones is covering for The Guardian. I'm sure that they are really getting their money's worth. What's really interesting, though, is that I remember Owen Jones putting the case for a left-wing exit from the European Union. A term he coined as Lexit. The left must put Britain's EU withdrawal on the agenda. I agree. And it was based on Germany's treatment of Greece, which again is a very good point. At the time, Greece was being run by a Marxist government. Obviously not something I personally support, but they are not necessarily in the wrong when they say the European Union is treating them like a colony. As austerity-ravaged Greece was placed under what Yanis Varoufakis terms a postmodern occupation, its sovereignty overturned and compelled to implement more of the policies that have achieved nothing but economic ruin, Britain's left is turning against the European Union, and fast. Everything good about the EU is in retreat. Everything bad is on the rampage, writes George Monbiot. All my life I've been pro-Europe, but seeing how Germany is treating Greece, I'm finding it increasingly distasteful. Nick Cohen believes the EU is being portrayed with some truth as cruel, fanatical and stupid institution. How can the left support what is being done? The European Union not in my name, said senior Labour figures. My God, I'm in total agreement with what you're saying here. It's completely correct. Germany is being imperial towards Greece. The EU is a German project. It is ruining Europe for a fantastical dream. I agree. The left should be pro-leave as well. But you did a U-turn on it because you think it's about left and right. Because the Tories are the ones who actually ran the referendum. But then look at this U-turn. Now, stop trying to make Lexit happen. Well, it was your idea, Owen. And it was a good one, to be honest. It was nearly a year before the EU referendum, and in the immediate aftermath of the defeat of Syriza's attempt to free Greece from the ruinous corset of austerity, I was pissed off, to put it bluntly, and wrote an article calling for the left to debate the case for leaving the EU. I didn't commit to backing Lexit, but rather felt that a discussion was needed over it. But it was a good idea. It was a damn fine idea, and couched in actually morally correct language as well, morally correct framework. Yes, Greece was being ill-treated by the EU. This is wrong. We should object, and one of the ways that we could object is by leaving the EU, because the EU is not a fair institution. It is not accountable. These are very good arguments, left-wing arguments. So how do you end this article, Owen? Dealing with the electoral dilemma of Brexit is one thing, and it's a legitimate argument to fear that Labour will alienate some communities. It needs to win to form a government if it adopts a full Remain position. I think this position has collapsed. The middle ground on Brexit has collapsed. Labour is losing far more Remainers than Leavers. Most Leave voters think that no deal is the only genuine Brexit, and believe a soft Brexit is Brexit in name only. But in any case, the ideological case for Lexit makes no sense. Nonsense! The ideological case is rock solid for left-wing Leave. You are making a pragmatic argument, a non-ideological argument, on the basis of electoral politics. You are a hypocrite, Owen. You are flip-flopping on this issue because you believe it is immediately beneficial. In fact, which was the reason that you wrote the original article. Because you don't seem to ever stand on principle. You don't seem to actually be interested in doing the right thing. You seem to be obsessed with power alone, getting Labour into power. And how's that gone? You guys are now neck and neck with the Liberal Democrats, and the Conservatives are pulled far in the lead. And if the Brexit Party voters do the sensible thing and back the Conservatives in this regard, because Boris does seem to be a genuine leaver, he campaigned to leave, he's been really firm on leaving up until this point, in fact, from what he's done since he's become Prime Minister, proroguing Parliament was a great move. It seems that we are going to actually get Brexit. It seems that the EU will not give us a deal, so we'll leave clean break. Farage will get what he wanted. We'll all get what we wanted. This is actually good for everyone, but the way that Owen looks at it is in partisan terms. Oh no, the evil Tories. We can't possibly support them even if they're doing what I argued for before the referendum.